Now the last thing which is also part of traditional Buddhism at the time of the Buddha was the way the Buddha actually taught the Dhamma. And this is where it starts to get much more complicated. Because you have to remember that the Buddha, his teachings, not only were the result of his enlightenment experience, they were also a result of the vocabulary, the kind of teachings that existed at the time in India. He had to use the words that were already in common parlance in those days. All the words that we have today that we use in the Pali language are words that were used at the time in India. Arahants, Aryas, Samadhi, all Sati, all these things come from the Indian language. And the Buddha took those words and then he used them very often in a different way to emphasize the Buddhist way of looking at these things. And of course later on the Buddha said that when you go out, he said to the monks, when you go out and teach others, you shouldn't adhere strictly to one particular way of speaking. You should allow for the differences around the world, around the country of India, and teach in accordance with how the local people speak. The Dhamma should not be something which is elevated into something which is completely, which is like a foreign language for people, like a Latin kind of thing. It should be something which can be understood by people. And this is a very important principle, because what it means that in this day and age, the Dhamma should be made plain in the English language. It should be made plain in any language, basically, so people can read and understand it in their own mother tongue. And I know for myself how important it is to understand something in your mother tongue, because my mother tongue is not English, obviously, it's Norwegian. And I know that when I read the Dhamma in Norwegian, I feel there's a sense of closeness to the Dhamma, which is you don't have when you read it in a foreign language. I mean, I've been living in English-speaking countries now so long, it doesn't make that much difference to me anymore, but it still makes a little bit of difference. I know for those people if you read Pali, for example, then you're reading in language that is very foreign to you, and then it doesn't have the same emotional impact as when you read it in your own language. And also you understand, of course, much better what is going on. So this is one of the important things, that we actually do translate, we do teach these things in the vernacular language of the place where you are at. This is, I think, very important.